She's the Chief Marketing Officer, Ramble.com, and she would be speaking on the best practices for publishing mobile games in the Western market. Over to you, Martine.
Thank you. So I see we have to make up for a bit of lost time, so that's actually a good thing, because I made the mistake when I was putting together this presentation thinking I had only half an hour, and now I have a full hour, so I'm going to catch up on some time. I'm not sure if I should wait for a couple of more moments, since I see people are still streaming in and out, and people are still having a little conference over there themselves. So I'll just wait a few more moments before I start. I'm going to talk about mobile publishing. It is not really restricted to the Western market, but I kind of put it up there as a disclaimer, because to be really honest, so far I only published games in Europe and the US myself. So that's why I'm like, I can only really talk about the Western market. A lot of these points are applicable to the Indian market as well, but there might be some differences. Also, the schedule says that I'm talking here for Gramble. That is also another company I'm working for. Gramble is a big mobile social gaming network where part of the revenue goes to charity. One of my colleagues from Gramble is also here on the in the show. Varal, if you happen to be in the room, just stand up. If not, I'm disappointed that my colleague's not even coming to watch me. But I'm here today talking the name of my own company, Tamalaki. It's an Android mobile game publishing company in cooperation with FGL.com. So, stuff I'm going to talk about. Some different aspects that you'll encounter when you're going to publish a mobile game. So, I see that the presentation is... It's kind of divided in three parts. First of all, there's the practicalities, like really think about your game title, and really things that still have to do with the game design, the really early phases of your game development stage. Second of all, the monetization. Of course, when you're going to publish, well, it would be nice if you could actually make a living out of it. And thirdly, the marketing. All the app stores are super crowded. How you're going to make your game more visible. But first of all, who's this lady who thinks she can teach you something about that? Well, I got by now like around 8 years of online game experience under my belt. I started out as a licensing manager at Spill Games. It's like a huge network of online gaming sites. After Spill Games, I moved to Ubisoft to do the online marketing for their Blue Byte studio. And currently, I'm multitasking, be both the Chief Marketing Officer for Gramble and doing my own Tamalaki publishing. And I like to talk. That's why I'm here. So, like I said, kind of thinking about mobile game publishing and mobile game monetization really starts in the early concept phase of your game, when you're designing it. A lot of indie game developers started out in flash games, computer games, and now they're going to port to mobile. A lot of games can just be ported to mobile. You just, for instance, if you have a flash game, you use Adobe Air, and then you have an Android game, you can publish it. But usually it's not that easy. Usually there's a lot more to it. For instance, this game was designed as a desktop game that also works very well on tablet. But imagine playing this game, which is a tower defense game, on a small mobile screen. I mean, I cannot even read what it says. It says something about a bow, and it's just the user cannot see what the special powers of that bow are or what it does. So yeah, it's the little things that are often overlooked. Game performance is another one of those things. I mean, when you're designing your game, you might want to add an extra functionality here and put in some awesome graphics here and maybe some animations. And before you know, you're working on an 80 megabyte project. And then you want to launch your game on Google Play, and then you find out that there's actually a restriction of 50 megabytes. And then you want to publish it to the iOS store, and then games under 20 megabytes get a lot more downloads, because those can be downloaded through 3G as well. Over 20 megabytes, you need to have a Wi-Fi connection to download it. So there goes the convenience of downloading. And when people encounter these kind of problems, yeah, they're not going to be very sympathetic. They'll give you bad reviews. I mean, even if in the game description you tell them like this game will only work with, for instance, for Apple, you know, it will only work with iOS 6 and 7. People who are still on an older operating system, they won't read that. And then when they download the game, they spend money on it, and they find out it's not working, they go view a bad review. They'll blame you as the developer. So performance is always an issue, something to really carefully think about. About controls again, when you're porting a game, and you know, on desktop, for instance, let's say you have a shooter game, and your shooter game, you walk around with WASD, you shoot with space, you aim with the mouse, you look around with the mouse, and there's a couple of more buttons for, like, you know, your hand grenades and special stuff. Yeah, try porting that on a mobile phone. You know, I mean, on a computer, people have 10 fingers. On a mobile device, people only have 2, right? So you might want to just change around your whole control schedule in that case. You know, maybe automate some stuff like walking around, that the user only has to shoot and aim. Or maybe you want to automate aiming, so the user only has to walk around and shoot. And yeah, of course, the mobile doesn't really have restrictions. It has a lot of new opportunities as well. You know, the gyroscope is one, but yeah, it's not a solution for everything. I mean, I see it's used in a lot of race games, but actually, you know, racing on a tablet like this, on the tablet, the whole world kind of revolves. And in a real car, the whole world doesn't really go this way when you turn a corner. Right? So this, I mean, it's not the solution for everything. I mean, you might want to think a bit more creative when it comes to alternative control schemes like gestures. I mean, if in a certain game a player has to tap Control Z and X to do some kind of special move, why not let the player draw a Z on the tablet, for instance, to do that same special move on a mobile device? Also, the mobile audience is just very different from a desktop audience. If you got 10 years of computer game publishing under your belt, you cannot like one-to-one apply that to the mobile game audience. And it's this graph here is an example of a typical graph of a desktop game that you might publish. Now, first you publish it, and then you test a bit around, and then you update it, and you test another bit around, and you know, slowly it's growing. On a mobile device, your downloads graph might look a bit more like this, where first you have the initial launch spike, you get in the new list, you might get a feature, and then if there's a bug in your game, it will quickly go down. You know, people leave bad reviews. You can never really recover from all those bad reviews. It goes down, and you'll never be able to reach that peak again. So, you know, for desktop launching, you might be able to sort of test, alpha test, beta test, iterate. On mobile, it kind of has to be perfect on the first big try. This is interesting. It seems that I'm missing a big part of my presentation. It might have to do that the laptop that I made this presentation on has a different operating system than this laptop. I'm just going to continue for now. I'm going to skip over the monetization for a little bit in that case and jump to the in-store marketing. And hopefully I'll be able to retrieve the monetization part later, because I guess that's the most interesting part for you guys. So when you're launching your game in the App Store, basically everything visible to the user you do is part of marketing. Even parts that you probably never really thought about are marketing. So this example, this is a very long game title. Worldcraft block building games with what? You know, with friends, with puppies, with triangles. I don't know, with what? Oh, with multiplayer, really? Okay, so I did not know this was a multiplayer game until I actually clicked it and got to see the full game title. Yeah, it's, yeah, these little kind of things that can completely change the look of your game in an app store. keywords is something that the user doesn't see, but it definitely influences the way your game is found in a store, you know, how it ranks for search terms. There are a couple of keyword tools out there, like searchtower.io. At the end of my presentation, I'm going to link to a blog where you can look up all these URLs, so you can use the keyword search tools yourself. So you can try out some keywords, see how your traffic ranking is, how you compare to others, how difficult it is, so how much competition is there for the certain keyword, and you can play around a bit, as long as you make sure that you're not. You want to grab a unique keyword, but as long as it stays relevant to your game, right? I mean, when you have a cute puppy game, the keyword kitten might score very well, but users who are looking for kittens are not going to like your game then. Thumbnail is possibly the most important marketing aspect of in-app stores. Just a little example here also of two games that are both spider solitaire games. So when we look at the left icon, it's a spider. It's a pretty spider, but it is only a spider, and the game title is also only a spider. So I have no idea what this game is about. It might actually be about a spider. And when you look at the right icon, the game title is called Spider Solitaire, and when you look at the spider, there's also some solitaire elements in it, like the little spade it has on its back. So immediately, when I'm looking for a Spider Solitaire game, it's a lot more clear to me that I should click on the right one instead of the left one. Also, when you design your thumbnail, make sure it's not too dark, or that there are not too many details in it, because you have to think of how it appears on the user's device. If the user's bored and scrolling around on their mobile for a couple of minutes to see what they want to do to waste those minutes, you really want your icon to stand out. And I mean, here's an example of another solitaire game where on the left, I mean, the developer really tried to capture the gameplay and what the gameplay looks like. But imagine this, like this big on a mobile screen, it's not going to look like anything. While on the right, it's just 4 aces. It's really clear. It's a card game, and it's green, and it's white, and it's bright. This stands out a lot better. Other visuals, the screenshots. In screenshots, you're really trying to tell the story to the player what your game is about. I mean, here you see 2 pandas, and yet really don't actually have a clue what they're doing. It might be a bouncing game or something. It's a pretty visual, but it doesn't really tell the story of the game. Same with this one. I mean, when you look at this screenshot, you see that the art is pretty, but what kind of game is it? I mean, maybe someone wants to have a guess. I would be really, I'd be amazed if someone guesses what type of gameplay this is. No one dares. No, it looks like a town building game, and it's actually a hidden object game. I mean, who would have guessed that? So here's an example of a good screenshot, a parking game, and it's not only a screenshot of the parking itself, but it also gives some extra information. Oh, like this game has 50 levels. Wow, that's a lot of content, 50 levels. So I mean, when you really concentrate on your screenshots, I mean, usually you can only upload like 5 or 6 screenshots. Make sure you have different visuals. Maybe you have very pretty backgrounds in the game, or maybe you have a level map that looks awesome. Maybe you have different characters in it. You might want to add some text, like on this screenshot. I mean, it's really try to vary and try to give the player really a scope of what your game is all about. This is another example of, this is a really simple one. I mean, hidden object games have to be pretty, right? I mean, there's so many hidden object games out there, and the main aspect is art. So this screenshot is really showing that the art is pretty, and it's showing that what it's about halflings. People think about, oh, halflings, hey, hobbits, oh, the hobbits, it's out now in the cinema, nice. And they see it's a hidden object game, so it kind of, in one image, captures what it's all about and what the player can expect. People on the internet do not read. And if they do, they have a very short attention span. I always say everyone on the internet has ADD. You know, no one really reads. So if you're going to insert in the description, you want to give the player some more information about what your game is about, make sure that the most important elements of your gameplay actually stand out. For instance, if I quickly scan over this text, I see normal mode, casual mode, challenge mode, search by picture, by word, and by silhouette. Okay, great. That sounds like a lot of different game modes. I might want to try this game. So, I mean, in the Play Stores, you usually cannot use typography like bold text or italic. Try playing around with caption like this. Reviews also do a lot for your game. I mean, if there's like 2 match 3 games and one has 1 star and the other has 5 stars, then of course I'm going to download the one with 5 stars. So there's in-store reviews, and when you launch your game, it's very easy to just ask your friends and your family, like, hey, can you download my game and give it a 5-star review, just so that it starts out with, with some good points before the first bitchy user comes about saying like, oh, I don't like it, and then he gives another 1-star review, and then it's smashed. So that's very important to pay some attention to. Also, it's very easy to build in an in-app notification. For instance, if your player's already been playing your game for 2 hours, they probably like it, right? So if you push out a notification at that point asking them for a store review, you have a very high chance that if they do, they leave a very, very positive review. The other side of reviewing is where a blog reviews your game. There's 2 kinds. There's like the free sites and the paid sites. If you get reviewed on one of those free sites, it's always good, right? It's always free promotion. Always, it might give you some extra visibility, some extra downloads. Always good. There's also some sites that make you pay for it. For instance, they charge $200 for a review. It might help, but be careful. When you get an offer like that, always have a look at, for instance, the Twitter follower base of that blog, or how many likes they have on Facebook. What is their Alexa ranking? How good can how easy is it to find them in Google? And kind of based on that, you can decide for yourself if it's useful to actually give these websites a try or not, because they all promise you millions, right? But after you paid, you got to kind of find out how many of those millions are true. These are 2 links to review sites. Again, this is all going to be available online. I'm going to give you the URL to all this at the end of my presentation, so you don't frantically have to try to copy this address. But these lists are regularly kept up to date, and it's. If you want to approach review sites, then this is a good starting point. So that was all about marketing, kind of what you can do inside the store, and then there's a whole aspect of marketing outside the stores. When you launch your game, you might not want to launch worldwide immediately. You might want to test out with a few markets. What a lot of companies who, for instance, companies from the US, they have, of course, English games. What they do is they test in other smaller markets that are also English language based. Popular test markets are Canada, Australia, but also New Zealand or Singapore or Scandinavia. They might not have English as a native language, but usually the people there speak very good English. I mean, and also the culture in these markets are also kind of similar. I mean, taking India as a completely different example, the English here is also good, but here the culture is a lot more different. I mean, if I try to launch a soccer game here, it might not do as well as a cricket game, while in Europe, of course, it's the other way around. So yeah, by first launching in a test market, you kind of get the feeling of your popularity of your game. You kind of already see the reviews. Maybe you want to make some small changes to the details of your game according to those reviews before you feel really confident for pushing out your game worldwide. Paid marketing is something that a lot of indie developers probably don't want to do. They don't have the budget for it, and it's risky business as well. So, but just to give you a scope of it, of how it works and what's some ideas to tackle it. If you launch your game and you want to have a real big impact, you can do a burst campaign, as we call it. It means that you drive so many installs that you're going to end up in the top 100 or the top 25 of the store. And because you end up in there, you get more visibility and you get more natural downloads. So to calculate the costs of this burst strategy, you got to know how many downloads it takes to get into the top 100 or the top 25. So there's a little example from Distimo. This graph, by the way, dates from April 2013, so it's like 6 months old. It's a little bit outdated. I'm not sure if you can all read it, but as you can see, for the games category, you need, this is, by the way, it says 20,000.8, but it's times 100. So you need 2,280 downloads to get into the top 25 for that. So for the business category, for example, you need 90 downloads per day to get into the top 25. Okay. So then you know that, and you know the costs of the average cost per download, which you can easily find through the blog of Chartboost, because they always publish, every month they publish the average CPI per market. Of course, it's only based on the Chartboost experience, but you can kind of get a feeling of the average cost per market. So let's say I want to publish a game in a market with a CPI of $1, then I need to spend $2,280 before I can get into the top 25 of that category, and that's per day. So this could really easily grow out to big budget stuff. So again, it's probably not something that a lot of you will do, but I guess it's good to know about the costs of a burst strategy. And if you go with a publisher, it's good to get a grasp of how much they need to spend to get your game up there. If they make pretty promises of you're going to be in the top 10, then you kind of have an idea of what they need to spend to actually make that happen. A free version of getting more downloads is cross-promotion. There's many cross-promotion tools out there. There's services like Mowdow and Chartboost and Amplifier and AppFlood, and Gramble, of course, now offers it as well. So the screenshot here is from Gramble that offers a social bar in games that developers implement in their game. So it shows all the activity of Gramble players, what they do in that game, the high scores, the achievements, the things they say to each other, and also a little promotion spot where you as a developer can decide yourself